so we will now sing the Lord's Prayer and meditation hymn, followed by Reverend Barbara's meditation and message titled The 21st Century Spirituality.
I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Take a few gentle breaths, exhaling completely. Feel the floor and the chair supporting you. And if you've not done so already, I invite you to gently close your eyes. Know that you may choose to follow my words, or you may go elsewhere. Wherever you go will be perfect. And I invite you, as you quiet your mind, to turn your attention to spirit within. And in the stillness, release all concerns and relax in the presence of the divine. Make the peace of spirit welcome. Simply invite it into your heart. Continue to breathe, knowing that the great mystery is breathing you. You could not breathe without divine life flowing in you. Your heart is beating because you are expressing divine light. There is no place where godness ends and you begin. So in this quiet time, I feel the peace of godness enfolding me. And if your mind is still busy, bring to mind something that brings you a sense of awe. Perhaps something in nature, or a baby. Something that makes you smile and puts you in touch with joy. Something that makes your heart lighten. Knowing that the light of peace brings to me the perfect vision. And in this light, I allow myself to relax deeper into this present moment. And here I listen for the still small voice of spirit, or that felt sense of awe. I am calm and serene, and I rest in the ever-present love of Godness. And from this place of stillness, I reflect that my spirituality is about connecting with the wonder and energy of the cosmos of all existence. And as I continue to relax and breathe, I invite the felt sense of connection that living a spiritual life offers me. I feel my connection with the beings in this room, with my family, with people I care about. I consciously choose to live a spiritual life that invites me to evolve and grow in my consciousness. And I do this by giving myself time for unconditionally loving self-reflection. Without judgment, I review my day, my comings and goings, celebrating both the successes and the lessons learned from any missteps. I keep my mind open to new ideas, and I am comfortable with the unknown, the mystery of life. I know that I have freedom to choose my thoughts and my actions, and I choose mindfully, knowing that my thoughts and feelings create energetic vibrations that impact my life and the greater community. I choose to express love and peace and joy. And as I take ownership for my spiritual life, I experience connection deeper than ever before. I experience the benevolence of Godness and a deep sense of purpose and meaning. Along with compassion and generosity, I develop a strength that supports me in times of challenge. I am evolving, and my life is joy-filled and fun. I love and appreciate my life. I love and appreciate my life. And so it is. So I invite you to take a few more gentle breaths. Feel that life energy flowing through you all the way out to your fingers and your toes and the tip of your nose. And when you're ready, and gently open your eyes, feeling alert, yet relaxed, energized, yet at peace. You may want to do a little gentle stretch, like watch out for your neighbors. But like our pets do. Oh, when they've been up, they wake, being still. They do that little stretch that just allows that energy to flow back through them. I love it. Well, my husband came out of his office into the living room the other day, and he said something that he thought was very profound. He said, technically Moses was the first person to receive a data download from the cloud onto a tablet. You know? I thought about that, and I thought, well, that is actually pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. You know, his geekness comes in handy sometimes. I like this, you know. Anyhow, well, I am so pleased to be here in this beautiful community. And I'm actually in the next chapter of my life, and I'm traveling around talking about what I call 21st century spirituality, which is nothing new to y'all here. I get that. But for a lot of people, it's new. And so, you know, sometimes we've got one foot in the old spirituality and one in the new, which is fine. Wherever we are is perfect. But when I was looking at what is feeding me at this point in my life, I kind of had to review. Because, you know, the major religious traditions that we all built on and unity was built on was Judaism, it was Christianity, it was Hinduism, it had Islam. It's all those major religions are in there, and we were built upon all of that. I know that, and that's terrific. But I also look back at all the major religions, and you look at the time that they were created and the society they reflected at the time. Think back to when those came into being. And most of those religions were based on one teaching and perhaps one person for the most part. And those teachings reflected the society and culture that was going on then. If you think back, which was most of the population was uneducated, illiterate. They didn't travel a whole lot. There was slavery, there was sexism, most children didn't make it to age 5. The average age was 35. And there was no democracy at that time. And so the religions that were, came to being, it would make sense that because they were living in authoritative regimes pretty much across the board. So not surprising that when they created, their vision of God was the top authority. So their deity was God, and then there was a hierarchy, kind of like they were accustomed to. So the hierarchy was it could be the Pope, it could be Dalai Lama, name it, but they had this hierarchy, and then underneath was the next row, and that would be your priests and your moms and so forth. And so there was this hierarchical idea of God. So it was not surprising that our godness was somebody that we were going to worship or praise, because you wanted to praise the head guy because that was your best interest at the time if you were in that culture, right? We're not dumb. So it was like, okay, yeah, make nice to the big guy, and it was a guy. They were guys, and and then things, so that kept coming down, and also the knowledge and the information was kept only by a few. Actually, in the Christian church, the idea was the liturgy was confined to the priests. You guys didn't have to know what was going on. In fact, it was in Latin. They really didn't want us to know what was being said. It's like, okay, good, I got it. But we developed that hierarchy, so we were removed from having a direct experience of our oneness and our connection. And to me, that's what spirituality is about, isn't it? It's moving into that place where we have a felt experience of our connection and our oneness with everybody. And I don't know about you, but I didn't have that a lot. And it's still at times I don't have that. And so this isn't to feel badly, because I remember I would sit out there and they were doing the meditation, which I did terribly. I loved unity. I liked the music the best. I kind of slept through the message quite a bit early years, I have to tell you. And the meditation was made me very uncomfortable. I was squirming and waiting for it to get over with, which is kind of humorous now because I really like them. But anyway, so there was the idea that spirituality was tough to get to. That was sort of the original plan. You had to go to others to get answers, and they would tell you if you did these things, things would be good. Because also remember, back during those cultures, we really were pretty much concerned with gathering food and survival. And the beautiful thing is here probably are not concerned with that anymore. So we don't need a religion that will give us, spiritual certainty. So if you do this, this, and this, you'll be good. And some of those, let's see. The Hebrew Bible, if you were pure, you'd be good. Then you got it made. If you had good karma, If you had done, well, it's 10,000 hours of meditation, that should get you on the right, there were all kinds of things. If you could bend backwards in the lotus position while chanting, that was helpful too. Whatever it was. And so you had to be, ordained, baptized. You had to do all these specific things that if you did them, then paradise, you're going to get it. And I grew up in that culture, I guess you did too, where we had that, and it's still in there a little bit. And so just that having spiritual connection, I thought, for one thing, was going to be, well, it was a peak experience, because that's what I heard about. Remember that when people felt their oneness and they were blissed out. I have friends who go to South America so they can partake in sacred drug ceremonies so that they can have an experience of oneness. I don't think we need, nothing wrong with that, but I don't think we need to do that. You don't have to sit under a Bodhi tree and become enlightened like the Buddha, or you don't have to get struck down by, like Saul didn't he, on the road to Damascus? That's Paul for the rest of you who don't read the early part. And so, we don't have to do those. If I thought that it had to be something really big was going to happen, and then we're spiritually now we're spiritually enlightened, and you're feeling connected, and you hang on to it. And that wasn't my experience. And what I'm learning and have learned from wise teachers is that we may have some little blocks that keep us from stepping into the spiritual connection that's available to us all the time, that's available to us in every moment. And some of the beliefs we might have that might get in the way is, well, perhaps I thought it had to be hard. I don't know about you. I thought that it required a lot of study and a lot of discipline, which were two of my least favorite things to do. In a shamanic tradition, right, we go out into the wilderness, and then you could have that spiritual experience. In Buddhism, you do extensive meditation. In Christianity, we do extensive prayer, and then we do abstinence of some pleasures, food, whatever it might be, and those should help us get there. But what I would say is that the new spirituality does not require any of that. What we're looking at is just what is it that helps you melt away that separate sense of myself in the moment to feel connected to everybody. And I would say it doesn't have to be anything really big and amazing. And in my studies, one of the things I did, because I had a concentration in school, graduate school, of spiritual practices. So every Saturday, I would go to a Buddhist monastery, spend the day. For some of you, that sounds like heaven, doesn't it? And it would probably not be bad for me now. At the time, I couldn't stand it. Oh my gosh. They would have me meditate for hours, which meant you're not supposed to move. Oh, good heavens, that drove me crazy. Now, I did sit on a chair instead of the floor because that was going to be hopeless to try to go like that. I knew that. But I could sit on a chair. But, I would sit there, and then there would be that bug that would come buzzing by. And I'm going, don't move, don't pay any attention to it, all those things I thought I was supposed to do. And then it would bite me. And then I'm going, oh, geez, what am I supposed to get from this? Oh, it was ridiculous. It was not the best spiritual practice for me. And then, of course, at this monastery, it was vegetarian. I'm a happy carnivore, so that was not making me really pleased with that. And then they were supposed to eat in silence, which is a lovely tradition, but my connection is with speaking and talking. And so it was not working for me. Somehow sitting across from you and wondering who the heck you are wasn't making it for me. And then, you do 3 hours of sacred service every day, and I wasn't qualified to do anything. They knew I could do nothing in the kitchen. I wasn't even qualified to work on the compost heap, so they sent me out to pick beans, which I thought I could pick beans. And then I realized I'm picking beans and sticking my hands into a big bush in the heart of rattlesnake country. And I thought, this is nuts. So didn't do that either, yeah. I digress a little bit. But the point being is that sometimes we think that, that our connection has to be in a certain way. And I'm going to suggest, when I first went to Unity, my connection was with the music. And when I would sing, I would feel I would open up. It would do the melting piece. And I would feel connected. I get it in nature. Some of you probably get that in nature. Or we get that when we're parenting. Or maybe, You might have got that blown away first experience when you first held your child, perhaps. That's a mountaintop experience, perhaps. But for every day, it's being present to the little things that can do that, which maybe is a hobby that you love to do, that just brings you joy. And I used to have that belief that, it had to be something really spiritual. Like that was a different category than living my life. And it's not. It's the same stuff, isn't it? So, when I was thinking of some of the different things, some people said, how do they move into melting that space between self and the other? Is they do it in movement or in sacred dance or in square dancing, whatever it might be that brings them great joy. Some people it's cooking. Some people it's reading. Some people it's television. Oh my goodness. What is she talking about? Have you ever watched a television program that raised your heart, brought tears to your eyes, and made you feel love and connection to whatever was going on in that moment? Spiritual moment. And I think when we start, at least for me, getting rid of this certain category of what had to be a spiritual experience, which was obviously the meditation and all that kind of stuff, it happened to happen on Sunday only, and went into that every moment can be that moment when I'm feeling my connection. And so it's getting rid of my old ideas of what the blocks were to that. And then realize that it might not be easy in every moment. And so it might not be possible. So I get to be gentle. Because what it requires usually when we are melting is that we have to pause for a moment. And sometimes the pause is hard if you are busy. And if you have in adrenaline-filled emotions and you have all that churning in your body. And then it's like, okay, now I'm going to stop and pause. What's the first feeling you have? Irritation. Because it's physiological. It's like you are putting the brakes on something that was a moving, that was rolling through our system. And now I'm saying stop, and so I get a little irritated. In fact, you might even get nauseous. And then this is not working. And so it's learning to come gently into that pause place. And then to step into our body for a moment. I think of it, well, somebody brought it to mind today. It's like, for those of you that like chocolate, do you know when you get that really good piece of chocolate? The one that, you don't even need more. And that's hard for me to say because chocolate, I don't understand, they not more. But, it's like when you get that good piece of chocolate, or whatever it might be for you, maybe it's a satisfying meal. When it helps you just to be present into the joy of your body, when we do that, then we're going to be able to feel that sense of oneness, that sense of connection, which is important. It anchors it even more. And then when I take it in and breathe it in, and of course it's helpful if we're in that vibration that is pretty compatible with the benevolence of the all that is. I call it the inner smile. So if I'm having an inner smile in the moment, then that's going to be easier to get there. And then once I'm aware in that moment that I'm looking in your eyes and I'm saying, oh my gosh, you're the divine. How very cool. I'm in the presence of another expression of the divine. And I take that in and let it sink in. And really let it sink in. Kind of like those of you that like to take a nice long bath or relax in a hot tub or put the down comforter around you, whatever it might be, that allows that felt experience to just go deeper and deeper and deeper. When we do that, then we are getting into the practice of making every moment a spiritual experience. Because we know now that we don't need intermediaries. We don't have, it's fun being a minister saying that, but it's true. You don't need me. It's good to have educators. It's good to have people who, their job is to remind us and do those things, and that's their full-time focus. And thank you that I've had that job. I'm so appreciative of it. But we don't need anybody to help us do this, do we? We have we are direct. We talk about it. I'm sure you talk about it every week. We are directly connected. We could not be disconnected unless we are not paying attention. And so we get to come into that place where we feel our oneness, and to be really patient when we're not. William Bloom, who was a wonderful spiritual educator, was talking about he had been working with 50 Anglican clergy, and he's from Britain. And so he was talking with them, and these were clergy that were not feeling their oneness anymore. They were frustrated. What brought them in to become clergy folks was now missing. And so what he did is he asked them, what are the things that bring you joy? And they, so they mentioned walks in nature, they mentioned music, they mentioned many of the things that we just talked about. But not one of them mentioned Holy Communion or the Eucharist, which was interesting in their tradition. He said, not one of you mentioned that. And then one honest man raised his hand and he said, well, I got to tell you, because quite honestly, when I'm doing that part of the sacred ceremony, he said, this week I was thinking I've got to write a letter to the gal who does the flowers to thank her for that. And then the other heads were nodding, he said, because what had happened is they became so much about the business of doing what they were doing, that what brought them the greatest feeling of connection when they were training, they said, oh, the communion for them was this sacred ritual that brought life, that made them feel totally connected to Source. And they had lost it. Which I find, kind of interesting that, the specialists lose their connection because of the demands of their lifestyle. And we do that, don't I do that, is I can get so busy not being in the present moment that I miss the opportunity for whatever the present is that is bringing me the gift of wonderful connection. So, part of my idea for, when I say 21st century spirituality, it's nothing unique. It's just about giving ourselves the opportunity to melt into the full experience of the truth of who we are, that we're these amazing divine beings having these wonderful human experiences, and that we are merged together in that experience as much as we possibly can be. And it also requires me to be open-minded, and not just the open-minded about letting go of judgments and preconceived notions of things. I think the workshop today is about relationships, and the whole intention for that is to release our assumptions of how people should be, and to let go of judgments we have of ourselves. But it's also to move into that place of the unknown. That's what I'm thinking is important. When I first came into Unity, it was in the summer, and I won't digress too much, but a gentleman asked me to come to the first Unity service. I thought he was asking me out. I thought it was a date, and he brought me to church. It worked well. And we're good friends, and I do tell him, I talk about him across the country. And I said, yeah, that date that never happened. But shortly after I was in Unity, then the Christmas season came, and they were having the Christmas Eve service, like you probably have as well, and they do the 12 powers. And so we want 6 people to speak on the 12 powers. Each of you do 2 powers. And this one person volunteered me. And okay, fine. So she said, you're going to speak on love and zeal. Which further down in my life, I'm going, that was really very insightful. But at the time, it was not making sense to me. And I was at a time in my life when I was not feeling love. Not at all. And it was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. Now, also, I was not in Unity long enough to know I could just open up one of dozens of books and read about love and zeal and share that information at the service like everyone else was going to do, but I did not know. They didn't tell me. And so I'm thinking, I have to come up with something about love. I have no idea what to do. So I did what I thought was reasonable. This is Christmas Eve, the 23rd. So I called up my minister, and I said, Reverend Don, I'm so sorry, but I am sick, and I'm not going to be able to speak tomorrow night. Yeah. To which then Reverend Don said, in his typical Unity minister way, he says, well, Barbara, he says, I'm seeing that divine life energy flowing through you perfectly, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And I'm going, wait a minute, I just called in sick. You're supposed to go, oh, okay. He didn't do it. So it's Christmas Eve. I have nothing to say. And it was a warm Christmas that year. I'm in Minneapolis, and I am dry. It's Christmas Eve day. It's raining. It's pouring. It's one of those where you have the windshield wipers on max. And I'm driving down the road, and I have nothing to say. And all of a sudden, this thought, voice, whatever you want to call it, came through of what I should say about love. And it was incredible, and I knew it was perfect. You get that felt sense. It was like, oh my gosh. I knew it wasn't just me. I wouldn't have thought of that. And it was wonderful. And then I'm realizing as I'm driving 55 miles an hour down Highway 100, which has lots of narrow bridges, 4-lane, I can't see where I'm driving. In fact, it isn't just that the windshield wipers are going so fast I can't see in the rain. It's I'm crying so hard I cannot see. But my car is being steered and being driven. Oh boy. It got my attention. And from that point on, I could no longer deny that there are other things going on in the world than the things that were in my simple belief map that I preferred to keep simple. It was like I had to open up to have more room for things I did not understand and for more mystery. And I'll finish the story. So then when I did, so now I have love. I got that. And I still have no idea what I'm going to say for zeal. And I'm in the shower that evening because it's a like 11:30 service at night. And all of a sudden in the shower, what I need to say for zeal came through. Maybe it's a water thing, I'm not quite sure, but it came in. And so I went to the service, and of course everyone else got up and were very eloquent, and they read faith, the prospering power of blah, 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 and read all that. Then I get up and I say, love. Well, there once was a fish swimming, and I started telling a story, not like anybody else. And then when they did all the proper things, and I got to zeal, and I said, it's like Christmas morning when you're waking up and you're a kid, and I was telling story, and it was different than everybody else, and I had to go, oh my gosh, this is something that I need to pay attention to, because I'm not doing it like anybody else. And we're not supposed to do it like other people, are we? The redundancy would be ridiculous for us human beings, wouldn't it? We all are so unique and have our own unique gifts. And so that allowed me to keep my mind open and to let more things into my belief system than I even knew what to put in at the time. And sometimes we get to be gentle with ourselves. I remember my Unity minister in California went on vacation once, and he brought in a guest speaker, and the guest speaker spoke about angels. And I thought, well, that was nice. It wasn't really in my map or anything, but it was pleasant. But he had very, very intricate picture of what it was all about angels. Well, the following week, the minister came back, and the first thing he says, I apologize for bringing that person in to talk to you about something that has nothing to do with unity or anything at all in your life. And I went, okay, remember that. And the minister was just, at that point, had a belief map that was this big. That was all. And it reminded me, it also reminded me to keep quiet about some of the things that were going on in my life at that time because he didn't have room to see it, but that's okay. And by the way, I am giving a workshop on angels and devas, and I'm saying it in the front of a Unity church. That's kind of humorous to me at this point in my life that I'm talking about that, but it's just that even if that's not in your belief map, it's allow ourselves to be open for more mystery. Because the good news is I don't know it all. I take great relief in that all the time, that there is so much more going on in this, and that it's a benevolent universe, and we talk about that all the time, and that there are wonderful things happening. And my invitation is to welcome it. My invitation is to contribute to the vibration of the planet, isn't it? That's part of, I think, when we understand 21st century spirituality, we understand that we're part of it, that our vibration makes a huge difference in the world. That's one way that I can contribute. Because our vibrations, our moods are powerful. They go out, and they have a big impact that we may not even know about. We emit an electromagnetic aura. And I know when I used to speak on Sunday, some of the people who would see auras would always tell me what was going on with me afterwards. Feel free. It's okay. But, the thing is, we are these vibrational beings that we make, and if we minimize the impact that we can make on the world, we are wasting some of that wonderfulness that we are. And, you can see it in other ways. Have you ever had somebody you reside with come in the house, and they may not even slam the door, but you haven't seen them yet, but you know what mood they're in? We know, don't we? because it's a vibration. Dogs know it, of course. They smell it because when you're aggravated, I guess we make a new aroma in our perspiration that dogs pick up real fast. I don't, thank goodness, I don't have that ability. But, we have that ability to know what's going on with people before they don't say a word, do they? You have the ability when we're driving down the road. That's probably because, of course, our vibration extends out to anything that we're working with, tools of any kind, especially our automobiles, isn't it? You've ever driven your car and you see that car coming up behind you. It's not the speed that gets your attention, but I'm sensitive to the vibration and the energy that's coming from that vehicle that's being broadcast in my direction that says you might want to get out of the way. That person's in a hurry. That person is stressed. And I would tell you, if you go by a new car lot, none of those cars have much energy at all, do they? Even the ones that are made to the girls that are supposed to look mean, they don't look. I drive by them, and they don't look mean until somebody gets in them who bought it, because, man, that's going to really broadcast where I'm coming from, my power. But so, we have that ability, I think, and that's one of the invitations that we have is to go forward and be mindful of the energy that we are contributing to the planet to the best we can. And on the days you can't do it well, it's okay. Go hang out with somebody who's doing it well and it'll be contagious. That's why we come here, isn't it? We come to Unity, and some people stay away when they're not feeling well. I say, oh my gosh, are you crazy? When you are the crankiest or the most upset or most depressed, come here, because the vibration will help you move back up, isn't it? It's total counterintuitive to the old way of looking at stuff, but it works so beautifully. So, taking responsibility and eliminating the middle person and doing all those things that allow us to really embrace our spirituality and to own it. It has so many gifts. It helps us to feel more compassion and more generosity. It gives us strength in the times of challenge. It provides us with lots of humor. My husband and I tell each other we provide each other with lots of humor. That's our jobs. And we laugh together. Occasionally one of us has a head start. That's okay. Because laughing is another way, isn't it, to tell that we're in balance, isn't it? And I was talking to someone once, and they said, well, I'm not really that funny. And you're a lot funnier than you think you are. We just are. We are amazingly humorous human beings. And if we can delight in each other, that will again melt that separation, and we experience the oneness that we are. So my intention this week is to just go out and have surprise and delight, because I am open to seeing the divine and experiencing it in whatever I'm doing in the moment, and looking for that felt sense that's even better than chocolate. And so it is.